pretty incredible, the work that's being done by all of you and the amazing ideas, but I also really want you to meet the committee that reviewed your projects. And we had such an amazing group come together and talk through these and think through ideas, and just had a really wide variety of expertise and experience and representation. So I have been doing this work for the last year, but I'm so excited that we are expanding our team. And we have hired Cynthia Andrews as our Innovation Initiatives Manager. And then you all also met Keiko McCracken earlier. So many of you have met them already, but they will be very involved with projects going forward, and I'm super excited to be passing on this work to them. They're both just super incredible and smart and wonderful people. So I'm gonna pass it on to Cynthia now, and she is going to, we're inviting up a few of our review committee members to tell you about their experience in the process.
Thank you, Nika. Good morning, everybody. Oh, is this great already so far? Yeah. Absolutely. So my name is Cynthia Andrews. I'm the Innovation Initiatives Program Manager here at the North Sound ACH. Keiko is my colleague, and we're working closely together, and she is the Innovation Specialist. And she is also our timekeeper. Many of you may have seen well, I know you did see the video, and that was me in January talking about being a partner, because I was a partner with another organization, and I really, really loved what happened. And Liz, I really loved the cohorts. I had a good time. Being a partner really helped me. It centered me. It helped me to know that there were other people out here doing the work. I was a DEI professional at a nonprofit organization, and it really did help me to understand that there are people who thought like me, and there were people who didn't think like me. We all came together and really wanted to do this work and do it well. So that was really great. And so now I'm on staff. And I used to say, this place is too good to be true. But I have to tell you that it is true. Like, people are really trying to be innovative and trying to do what they can to serve our underrepresented and our marginalized communities. And so, yay, North Sound. So you got to hear some of the programs that were funded, and now you get to hear from some of the review committee members. So come on up, why don't you guys have a seat here? So as Nika said, the review committee came together. They spent about 4 to 6 hours a week reviewing the applications, the proposals. They talked to each other. They wanted to make sure that the proposals lined up with the principles of the North Sound. And so they invested about 9 months of their time to do this. And as you see, there were 20 proposals that were funded, and we're super excited. So Nika and I had the opportunity to meet with every one of the review committee to talk about what went well, what was challenging, because we're now working on, as Liz says, 1.5. I'm hoping it's 2.0 for this new cycle. But we want to do it well, and we want to be able to do what we did, was bringing in community voice and being innovative and really making sure that the work continues. Now most of the folks here and on the committee, they belong to an organization that is part of the ACH, part of the Collaborative Action Network, but they served as individuals. They did not represent their organizations. And so they really learned a lot, I heard, as people, and we're gonna hear from them right now. So what I'd like to do is have you all introduce yourselves your pronouns, and give us the reason what inspired you to apply for the review committee.
I guess I'll start first. Hi, everybody. My name is Kima Toze. My pronouns are she, her. And I found information about the review committee through the newsletter. I had been a part of the racial healing convenings back in 2020, and I was just like so happy there was a space for people of color to really just talk about the hardships that was going on during 2020. And then so I just was looking on the website, found this information. I thought, let me just throw my hat in the ring and let's see. I was really inspired by the equity lens that North Sound ACH brings to their work. That's something innovative for me, and just being a part of other types of groups that I'm, work groups and things. This work is really different, and so that made me want to be a part of it. I have never, I'm a social worker by trade, and I'm interested in like grant writing and proposal writing, right? So I can have a seat at the table to really make change in my community. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to sit and make decisions and hear what the community is doing that's really moving the work forward. And I just wanted to be there as a community voice. And then lastly, it was great to just learn, what do proposal committees look for, right? And how do you write a proposal? That information I had not known before, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to get all of that experience as well as be a part of a community doing some innovative work.
Thanks. My name's Mike Hilly. I'm the emergency medical service manager for Whatcom County, paramedic for 30 plus years down in King County. And I will say my experience with the ACH has been very rich. I actually got involved in this when the state first rolled out this idea down in Seattle, and people like me looking to advance health systems, if you will, thought it was a big money grab, which was quite the opposite. It was not that at all. And this last 5 years, especially here, has just brought a lot of leadership tools for me, a lot of leadership ideas to spread out in the community, find alignment, and it really opened my eyes up to all these other areas in the health sectors that really affect EMS. I say this a lot, emergency medical services is the eyes and ears of public health, and we see things out there a lot, and we see these health inequities. And so my original interest was developing and enhancing our community paramedic programs, community health programs through EMS. And this experience would provide a super big richness for me. I'll say when I got first involved in the review project, just as one of the long-time partners with the group, it looked like granting to me at first, which is not what it was at all. And so a lot of my head went to this idea that, we're going to be passing out grants, which was nothing. This was an incubator for ideas that can provide a lot of changes in the healthcare system, and just by the fact that we have so many folks in this room from so many sectors integrates that, and it brings just that richness to at least my life and my sector of being a paramedic for so many years. So really enjoyed the process. I've loved sitting on the review committee, a lot of long nights on the couch kind of figuring out what this is about, and I'll finally say that it is really great to see on the back end of what all this came around. These last 3 presentations, we didn't know that much about those organizations, and to see what has come out on the back end of this seed money, if you will, this little influx to get these ideas going, is just fantastic. So it's been a great rich for me, and I appreciate being a part of the panel.
Thank you.
My name is Elisa Lopez Castor. I am a nurse practitioner with history and emergency medicine, mental health, as well as now addiction medicine. So I signed up to be on this committee, and I've learned and value each member of this committee, because I feel like everyone has brought a special part and opened my eyes to different parts of their community as to what the barriers of care are, and there's multiple. And so it's been a very enriching experience, both on a professional level as well as a personal level. I've learned enough from my colleagues here that I've been able to take it back into my practice, as well as take it back into my community and share with my other medical colleagues what I've learned and what I've gained and what I'm seeing in the communities. To touch on what Mike was saying about these projects that were presented today, I am overwhelmed with emotion. it's so exciting because we're only going from a written format of what we envision this project could be, and to actually see the pictures and meet the people who are on the pavement doing the work in the trenches every day, making our society better as a whole and our community better. I'm very overwhelmed, and I want to tell you, kudos to you and congratulations. What a great thing.
So what inspired you to apply for the review committee?
I think probably being in the cohorts, I was able to, the position that I formerly had, I was able to actually participate in 3 of the, do we have 4 cohorts? Because I was in all except for 1. So I was able to dabble in a little bit of each of them, and to meet the community partners and work in collaboration and just generate ideas. That was really inspiring to me, and to hear what some of these projects were trying to come to life and collaborate with other community members. That was the biggest thing that I was like, I want to be a part of this. I would love to see these projects that people are being innovative with and literally seeing. I felt like it was a great opportunity to actually see the dial move.
Fantastic, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Porter, and I work at the ARC of Whatcom County. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I have been a part of our agency, the ARC of Whatcom County, as an advocacy agency for people with developmental disabilities, has been involved with the ACH as early as we could become a partner. But being able to be on the review committee gave me an opportunity to learn a great deal more. And as a parent and a person who is autistic, who has autistic adult transgender family members, I was able to bring those pieces as well. We represent, in so many ways, all the intersections in our communities. And from the very beginning with ACH, even though we have principles and guiding principles that we're working towards, we will always have to continue to hear a lone voice, to provide an opportunity for a lone voice. And so I wanted to be able to listen to those voices as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have a couple of questions for you all. And hopefully we'll be able to get some from the audience as well. Going to try to, Keiko's going to keep our time. That's how much time we have? Okay, we're good. Okay, so first question. What were the differences you noticed in North Sound ACH's approach to the funding process compared to your previous experiences, and what aspects of this new approach stood out to you the most?
Since I have the mic, I'll go ahead.
That would be great.
So this was very much not a traditional, not a white supremacy foundation sort of approach to budgeting and to the support of collaboration. I don't know if any of you have followed, there's a disability advocacy person called Alice Wong, who talks about access is love. And what I saw in this is that budgeting is belonging. That's really what it brought home to me in this process.
What I saw that was different, first of all, in experience in writing or reading grants in the past, they're usually 50 to 150 pages. I felt that the North Sound ACH did a really nice job in the actual project questions, and they didn't put us into a box as far as the project proposals. It didn't have to meet certain criteria besides being in alignment with the ACH values. I thought that was just, I've never seen any type of process like this before. by not having those stringent boundaries. I come from healthcare. I mean, that's like next to military, pretty close. So not having that and thinking of all the innovative ways that we could really make a change was so exciting. And so kudos to North Sound for that. We definitely, I don't want to say everything was roses because it wasn't. We definitely had some pitfalls and we had some questions and we weren't really sure on certain projects, but overall, it gave us the grace to be able to do the best that we could as committee people to come together and make determinations based on how we felt the funding could best benefit the community and those the most vulnerable, like what you were saying.
Yeah, thanks. I'd add to that too. I've never worked in private business before and always been in public service, and a way to fuel some of these things that you want to get done in government is to get a grant, you know, from somewhere in the government. And even with the last grant we got from SAMHSA, you know, that was a 40-page deal, calls every week for monitoring the money, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the biggest change and a difference in this process was that we kind of prepared for 5 years for this. I mean, the cohort work that went ahead of all this, and I think, and at least for me, I was wondering, where is all this going? You know, where are we taking all this? And it really kind of culminated to this, which was not only just alignment, but a framework and understanding of what we want to do with these available monies. And so when we saw these projects came in, it didn't fit a grant box. You know, it wasn't a checkoff. It wasn't a grading system. It was, does this match the values that we think the ACH would like to push out? And does it make change in the system, especially for all those subparts that we talk about? And yeah, we had some tense conversations. I learned a lot from my colleagues here. Ara, thank you so much. Mario. I mean, the learning and the growing that went with this came from people that were brave to have these voices out there, and it changed my mindset in a big way on how this money was pushing out. So I think that was the biggest difference from my perspective on, you know, how this sort of works and getting money to where it really should go. So.
Yeah, I would echo what everyone on the panel has already said. What I would add is the application was not, it didn't look very daunting. I've seen other applications through the county system, and it does create a barrier for people to want to even apply because there's so many criteria you have to meet. So I was really impressed by that. And also the fact that, that I was, as a community member hat, I'm wearing my community member hat, that I could be a part of that. You know, a lot of grant writing or grants at the government level, you have to be in a position, there's all this hierarchy. And the fact that I can just, you know, I can apply and say, hey, I'm just representing myself as a community member who's engaged and wants to make a difference, that I was selected. So that made me think this is a great place to be, so, yeah.
Fantastic. So hold on to that, and you can go first with this question. So what highlights and insights would you offer before stepping into an environment rich in diverse experiences and expertise like the review committee? What aspects would you consider to be both rewarding and challenging about working in this group?
You know, for me, I think because I wasn't wearing, I always have my social work. That's a part of who I am. I have that social work value, social justice is a part of my upbringing in terms of my education. But the fact that as a community member who's concerned about where things are going with my community, I had to remember that I bring value in that voice, that I have something to add to this conversation. Sometimes you start to feel like, what can I really say, you know, from that voice? But it's power in your voice, regardless of your position. And so that helped ground me in the work and saying, I'm here and I have something to add. But also it helped me realize there's bias all over, like we all carry bias. And so going into this experience, I had to realize what sort of things, what sort of biases am I bringing to the table that maybe I'm not even aware of? And also exposing myself to other people's experiences that maybe have been on grant review committees for many years or have no knowledge of that at all. So it's so diverse in the folks at the table that I had to just remember what I'm bringing, how valuable that is, but also being open to others' experiences and differences. And the challenges around that would be just remaining open, because we all think differently. We all might not agree on something, and it's not about that personal aspect of that. It's really, we're doing this work, and the community is trusting us to do this. So let's refocus on why we're here, not so much of this person may not like what I have to say. Bring it, like leaving that behind, and really just focusing on the mission.
Well, yeah, I'd say who wouldn't want to be part of this? I mean, you get to reward some money out, right, for these great projects, and I actually felt really honored to be able to sit on that board from that aspect. And yeah, it was a lot of work, and to, not to repeat too much, but you have to really go in with an open mind and an open idea of what this is all about and take it all in. Have to be very patient with listening and understanding. I know sitting on the couch at night looking reviews, I was going through websites, organizational designs, who's running the place or what is the background on this stuff. And so there's a little bit of background and understanding that and don't take this the wrong way, what you're seeing on your social media is not face value for what the organization is actually going to. I point to the Underground Project, for example, right? What a deep and complicated project that does a lot of great work. And we didn't know what that was about in the beginning of it, but we had to dive into it and talk about that and learn it. And I will say some of the challenges, actually it was just time for me, just with everybody having a busy life, you got to get that time in and really devote some attention to it, because it's easy to go through this, the project design and go, oh my gosh, well, why not do that? Why not do that? Of course, that seems simple enough. Why wouldn't you be doing that already? But there are pieces of those projects that you pull out, and you want to make sure that they are supporting that whole thing that we're talking about here. So, but for me, it was very rich in that aspect. A lot of time kind of went to that. But once again, our collegial conversations, we had some great conversations in that moving forward, and actually created some great friendships too. But yeah, so yeah.
So I'm going to kind of focus on, I feel like Mike and I are kind of, when we first started the journey, it was like, well, you can't treat or teach old dogs new tricks kind of thing. And we've been in healthcare long enough, so verbiage of equity lens and inequity bias. Those are things that are like hot probably for the last few years, but when you're on the floor and you're working in an acute facility, care facility, really those are not stopped and thought about. Like, is this really equity? Is my care really going to be equitable? So for me, I really walked away with so much new knowledge, and yes, I went into this committee thinking, oh, I can help with the healthcare aspect. I walked away so much better, being a better provider than if I wouldn't have done this project or been on the committee. You have to, when you sign up for this committee, you have to be aware of where you came from, but you also have to be open to understanding where the others in which you serve came from as well. And there were several examples that you would give us from your community, because I'm from Snohomish, he's from Whatcom, right? So when we were reviewing projects like in the San Juans, we relied on other committee members who actually knew the vibe of the San Juans and the barriers of the San Juans. So many of these projects really did not, they were social services more than medical. And so then I would turn to you, and it was you will walk away a better person, I can guarantee you, after reading these projects, because you know that they are really going to change lives. You know that this funding is going to groups who really care. They're in the trenches daily. They walk the walk. They don't just talk the talk. And if you have the opportunity, if you have the time, I highly recommend that you sign up for this, because it's a life-changing, not only for your community, but for yourself as well. And thank you, Miss R. I miss our groups. We haven't been meeting like we normally do, and it's very hard because you do form these friendships, and respect. Every single one of these members deserves the utmost respect because they care. You know, they volunteered their time, and they are rooted in their community, and we want to be able to support those of you who are submitting these projects. We want to be able to support you, know that we hear you, and know that we see you, and we know you're doing great things out there.
Thank you.
So highlights, insights, and challenges. I can let you know that when I first joined this committee, I really thought this was a way for, coming from a small agency, for us to have involvement and support in that larger process in ways that maybe I couldn't make a proposal from our agency. The challenge that I think everybody shared in some way is getting over yourself. We've all been socialized and indoctrinated, and I can tell you the first thing out of my mouth is what my mom would have said, and then that next thing is what else I have learned. And so one of my challenges personally and professionally is being able to write criticisms or even write objective comments. So looking at the projects and then writing about it before we got together to meet was a challenge for me. And so I knew that, and I knew that I was going to need to come to the conversation to be able to share my perspective and my ideas, as well as hear others. So that's, it's personal, but it's professional. And so thinking about how you communicate best and how you learn best, knowing yourself. Absolutely. But I am really delighted to have gotten to know these folks more too.
Thank you. You guys actually all just answered the next question I was going to ask you, so we shall move on. So how has this experience on the review committee affected your understanding and relationship with the North Sound ACH? And did anything new arise or evolve during the process?
I would just tag on to my last comment that I hadn't thought that our agency was in a spot to collaborate and to make movement in Medicaid transformation, because we're a small agency and we're just in one county. How it's changed my perspective is recognizing that we can work with other folks in ways that maybe aren't financially sustaining or supporting, but we still are doing those and we can build on those. So that's what I would add personally and from an agency.
What I would add is, in looking at the North Sound ACH values and mission, I feel that one of my favorite things about North Sound ACH is inclusion. And a drive for the ACH is to make health, not health care, but health, acceptable to every individual within our communities. And so for me, being on this committee, that is something that I really kept in the back of my mind this whole time, was inclusion. How are these projects reaching out to anyone within the community? How are we making lives better with this project that we're reviewing? And one other point, that he's not up here, but his name is John. And I don't know if you're here today, John, but sitting on the committee, he was a committee member, and he has a lot of great history and background in grant writing and grant reading. And he, with these projects, brought something up that I really hadn't thought a lot about prior to, and that is, okay, let's look at these budgets. Are they acceptable? Are they realistic? Let's look at sustainability. You know, just by saying, oh yeah, we'll probably try to get some grants here or there, we want everyone to succeed. We want these projects to succeed. So in case for some reason down the future we don't have ACH funding, how can we know that this project is going to be able to sustain itself after a year to 2 years? And so, but again, that, when I was reading through the projects, I really didn't think much about that, but we had somebody else's eyes on it that was like, hey, I was just wondering, what do you think about this? And like I said, we all learned from each other so much. And so I wanted to point that out, and I wanted to point out that when you are on the committee, it's essential that you know what the ACH mission and values are. It's on their website. And just to be able to review some of these projects and just make sure that we are in alignment with those values.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I would say, my experience coming to the ACA and personally what it means to me is I know I brought a lot of baggage to that originally, right? So EMS is kind of sits differently than many more public health program services, outreach, if you will. So for me, this is kind of a cool overhead leadership group for human services that doesn't have the government spin on it. And when I kind of figured that out, it gave me a lot of tools to navigate a lot of these healthcare system issues which were, coming into the EMS life in a big way. And I ad nauseum probably say this, but for many, our EMS patients are the only primary care provider they've ever had, right? They don't have the transportation, they don't have the education, they don't have the resources to get that care they needed. So we find EMS pointing people to these places where so from my perspective, it gave this larger umbrella to be able to find those services and connect and realize that EMS is a somewhat of a safety net, the last safety net out there. And so that's this, as we moved along through the ACH in these last 5 years, all of these integrated organizations, service organizations, government organizations came together, and that's really what it brought. So when we got down to looking at, once again, all the projects that we want to push out, it gave me a greater lens on all of that, but most importantly, and as you mentioned, is it integrated? Is it sustainable? Is the money really going to the right place? And every one of those projects met that sniff test, if you will, right out of the gate. So it just became problematic on, oh my gosh, we got more out there we should give. But that was a richness for me, not only personally, but bringing back to my organization, especially as a regional leader in EMS, of bringing all these EMS agencies along with that and giving them the tools to do what we're talking about here today. So that was and I will say finally, when I looked at all those different projects, almost every one of them had some aspect of emergency medical services in it that I related to, every single one of them. So it was really easy for me to sort of connect that and realize that the bigger picture would help in all these other sectors, whether you're straightly connected or directly connected or not. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick because I see the food over here. So, I would just say, my experience, working experience, has been with the military and military social work and things like that. And we are very siloed, right? Everybody knows the military or veterans community. You have to either be a part of that to know what's going on in there. And so this has taught me how to bridge that. So one of the things that a takeaway is that I invited one of my former coworkers where I used to work to be a part of the committee, to apply at least. And they work with the military. So this is the opportunity to bridge those communities so that we can all know what we're doing. We can kind of lower the wall, so to speak, and really bring people together like this room, like we're all together, and this is amazing. And then I joined the ACH network as well. And I remember Megan saying, well, what community are you representing? I said, myself. Not representing an agency. I could do that if I wanted to, but I really want to show, as a community member, you can be a part of the change as well, and you have a voice, so.
Thank you. So one quick question that I want you all to answer. As you move forward in this, and you answered a lot of that already, but as you move forward in your life, professionally and personally, what do you take with you, and how are you going to do things differently? Can you do that quickly?
Oh, yeah. So differently would be relationships, the importance of relationships, and I'm seeing that today how amazing this room is, filled with people who want to do important work. So being a part of that.
Yeah, I think for me, it's developed a whole nother level of leadership skills and openness to all these sectors out here and trying to connect them. But yeah, the last 5 years, especially as a person that went from field experience, field supervision, field operations to deputy chief, and to a manager job like this, it just accelerated the skills I needed actually to move change in our EMS system and the larger health system in our county.
And for me, it's more, I hope to stand as a steward for the equity lens. So each patient that I meet, as well as my colleagues, I want to do nothing but educate, educate, educate. And just as you all mentioned, you know, this is the family and the generations. Until we can include everyone in the education process to stop the cycle, a lot of people fail. And so I think it's really important, and it's important that providers, everyone know this in the community, so share your wealth of knowledge, but also from a provider level, to take those extra minutes that are required to find out a more, and provide a more holistic approach to who lives in your household. Do you have 4 generations living in your household? Let's talk about it. Let's get them in as well and talk about it. And what can we do to help support you to make you successful?
Big question. I continue to learn about power sharing. I continue to learn about equity and inclusion and integration and fairness. And I can tell you when I became an executive director, I was very uncomfortable with that because as a woman, scary having power. This kind of power that is shared is going to disrupt oppression. It disrupts the other power systems. And I am continuing to learn about that over and over again.
Thank you. Hold on to that. We've got a few minutes left, so I would love to open it up if you all have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. That was really wonderful to hear about your process. My question is about the applications that were denied. I know a lot of groups that are getting into good trouble but don't have the framework and the structure, don't know about budgeting or making a plan for sustainability. And what I see over and over in these communities is that they're not able to break through the gatekeeping of funding without a white broker or a white proximity to whiteness that understands the jargon and the way things work. And so my question is, for those who were denied, who weren't able to show that once this funding is gone, this project will be sustainable, what was the recourse? What advice or where were those folks referred in an effort to keep their projects community-led and community-owned? Thanks.
I just want to say something real quick. I think that is why Keiko and I are here now, because we are able to help those organizations with their proposal. We will make, my goal, one of my goals is to make sure that we are working with those applicants so that they can create a project or program that will be successful. And if it's not what it may not look like what you want it to at that time. You may need more research, or you may need to do something that's a little bit different, which is a planning grant, a planning process, or something like that. But we will work with the organization so that we can help support you. That's our job. Would you like to? Okay.
I was just going to add a quick piece about that's part of why I'm here today, is to build the relationships and connect with folks. I don't know necessarily what you're going to offer to me or we offer to each other, but I hope that by the ACH bringing us together in this collaboration, we can support one another in those projects so that they do move through and so that we do see that strength and sustainability. And I know that's part of, that concern I had initially about judging somebody. And part of that is to promote and encourage and give more permission to relationships and collaboration.
Liz.
I'm just going to add one piece. As far as I know, there wasn't anything that was denied. So really, it's trying to have a committee where their goal is, how can we shape this so that it can be successful and supported, which the committee had no reason to trust when we said that's the way we want to frame this. But I don't know of anybody who was denied. They might have been offered something different to support their work than what they asked for, if that's helpful at all.
My question deals with equity. In operation over the last 5 years of our nonprofit, we've found that equity still has bias in it. How do you work as a committee to work through that that bias that's still in society for the marginalized individuals? And I'm talking, it goes across boundaries. It's not just racial oriented, but it's age oriented, it's income oriented, it's cultural oriented. All of that, those biases work into inequity.
So I'll take that one. As far as the committee goes, with those equity lines, there were only 11 of us, so that helps a lot. We weren't trying to conquer society at that time. We were just trying to make decisions that were the most equitable from our view, and we were well aware that we all came in with our own set of biases. I would answer that by saying that the North Sound ACH provided us with education. So we would have certain seminars or trainings regarding implicit bias, the equitable lens, and we just had one with North Sound regarding gender bias as well. And I think more on a point what Beverly was saying, we made each other accountable. So when we were talking in big groups about a certain project one way or another, if one of it was a safe space. If there was a committee member that it just didn't sit right, we were all open to hear them. Why is that? And we actually sometimes changed our views as to, I never looked at it that way. You're right. I can see that. I can see how that can be equitable for that marginal population. So I know what you're saying. Out in the community, it's a complete different beast. But as far as the community, or as far as the committee went, we were put through trainings, and the best that I can say is we were held accountable. And that was the one thing we were saying, was be prepared to go into a meeting with your mind made up, and then you need to be prepared to be open to the fact that the way you're viewing something may not be right. And just everyone had the courage to be able to stand up and say their part.
Thank you. I thought I had much more time than I did, and I don't. But I do want to invite you all to have conversations. Mario is going to be our last committee member to share how you can become, how can you apply. And I do want to say this, Nika always, she said, we had highs, we had lows, but we came together and did some really cool stuff. So I want to just leave you with that, and thank you. And now, Mario.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you, panel.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Mario Bañuelos, and I wrote it down so I won't forget, so apologies. I'm one of the 11 community members that have that have the honor and pleasure of serving on the Regional Projects Investment Support Committee. focused on reviewing projects and getting funding into our communities for the incredible work that you all do. It is incredible work. I would like to take a moment to thank my fellow colleagues. Thank you on this committee, in addition to the 4 that you just met here. If you're able, would you please stand or wave so folks can see you as I read your name? Ara Rael. John Glover. John. Daniela Pereira. Daniela. Kevin Riley. Kevin. Leah Weinman, sorry. And Stephen Sullivan. As we wind down the first iteration of the committee, I would like to invite you all to consider applying to serve on the next committee. We hope to pass on this unique opportunity to a new round of diverse and talented individuals with a broad range of ideas, experiences, and expertise. Y si no sabes inglés, no importa. Este es un espacio inclusivo para todos, todas y todes. Todos tenemos valor. To apply, please scan the QR code in your event booklet and also on the screen. And if you have any other questions about the committee, please feel free to talk to myself or other members throughout the day. The North Sound region is filled with remarkable community members, as you can see here, and many out there as well. Thriving in uniqueness and resilience, we are all torchbearers of challenging and tough lived experiences and trauma. You, the Black, the Indigenous, the Native elders, brothers and sisters, the LGBTQIA+, Two-Spirit, immigrant, the non-English speaker, the AmeriCorps alumni, the multilingual, the World Trekker, the Social Justice Knights, the What If Dreamer, the They and the Them, the Allies, the Strategic Thinkers, the Innovators. You have an unparalleled wealth of wisdom to offer. You have stood on the crossroads of adversity, struggle, and triumph. Your discerning insights and lived experiences can serve as the bedrock upon which sustainable change is built. That's what we're doing here. If your heart beats to the rhythm of innovation, the pulse of justice, the seeds of transformation, serving on this committee will be a testament to uplifting the unseen, the forgotten, the marginalized, in championing diversity and fostering inclusivity, guiding vital funding that embodies the beacon of hope to propel our communities forward. Regional Projects Investment Support Committee is an opportunity to amplify voices, dreams, and aspirations of community solutions that are already in community, that hold the potential to invigorate our communities and extend a lifeline to those who need it most. So please apply. Thank you.
So can we just do one more round of applause for these folks? And thank you, Nika and Cynthia, for putting that panel and the information together. So I'm the person between you and lunch. Yeah, but I did want to, because I think that the question about denials just really, it kind of just spurred a couple of thoughts for me. That one of the words that I think got mentioned but maybe not highlighted enough is I just keep thinking about trust, right? That, we've been doing this work. I moved to the North Sound region in June. It was 7 years. In October, I'll have been with the ACH for 7 years, which is just kind of mind-blowing. But part of this was, how does the ACH trust you all with the work? Our contracts have not, I just remember, I think with almost everyone in the first Medicaid waiver, I had sit-down conversations about, there has to be a trick to this contract. Because you're used to the contracts that are there's going to be a gotcha moment at some moment in time. And we said, no, we're talking about capacity building. How do we build this kind of capacity across organizations. You know, I look at you, Mark, and like the conversations I had in Friday Harbor with every fire chief, the EMS chiefs, the county, sometimes county electeds, like there's got to be a trick to this ACH work. And one of the very first meetings that I had back 7 years ago was with the leaders of the hospitals, the federally qualified health centers, a couple of large primary care practice folks. They took me out to dinner, and they had a proposal. So this is before we did one contract. And their proposal was, like, for every dollar that comes to the North Sound region, they were proposing that 80% of it go to primary care. And there were lots of reasons. Primary care is underfunded, the reimbursement rates are like really, really bad, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember sitting there kind of being held a little bit captive at this dinner and saying, I don't think that's what we're going to do with this money. We were the first ACH in the waiver to do contracts not only with healthcare providers, but with community-based organizations, because we said, can't solve diabetes if we don't have affordable food, and people can't have transportation, and they can't, and we just kept thinking there's something else at play. And I think last year we talked a lot about shared power. How do we do decision making in a different way? And the question was, like, people pitch ideas to me all the time. I mean, it's probably like one of the enjoyable parts of every week. But I thought, why should I be the only decision maker as to whether a cool idea gets funded? So that I trust you all enough to let you make those decisions. Did the committee trust me enough that once they made a decision, I wasn't going to change it when I'm putting a contract together? And so this, like, we're learning how to do this. And I'm really grateful for the folks who came on this beta version of the committee, because you probably had a lot of questions about, like, hey, is what I'm deciding is actually going to get carried through? And my responsibility is to make sure that I carried through exactly your intention. And, you know, folks who applied, absolutely phenomenal. And we do have, I think, at least 2 proposals that haven't gone to contract yet, because the committee said what they asked for isn't the level where we think that they are. Now, those folks get to make a choice. Do they accept the committee's recommendation or do they not? And right now it's sitting with them. And we have a variety of things going on, but it's been pretty phenomenal. I think when I went through and I added up all of the dollars for all the proposals that got funded, and I think I said to Nika, wow, it's been like $4-ish million. I don't know that you all knew that that's what you had done. But that's a pretty phenomenal thing to have happen. And we want to repeat that and carry that forward, because we feel like the ACH, part of our responsibility to continue to build capacity and relationship in this region. It is the sustainability model that we proposed to the state and the federal government.